Aloha, Richard Halverson here. This is ICS321, and today is Monday, October 18th. Let me share my screen here. Number 3. And let's see, where do we leave off? Let me just go to the syllabus and let me, I'll just go here to the videos. And I think I might have scheduled. Okay, so it looks like we got up to 3.20 and 3.20. So that would mean that means for these video lectures, I got up to somewhere around here. Really? I thought there was more. Okay, so I thought there was more than, okay, so let me go to, I think I might have, they might have added some labs or something. Okay, so here we are. We were in chapter 3, it looks like we got up to 320. Okay, so we still have 321, 22, 23, 24, and 25 to finish. And it is not shown here, is it? Well, what does it say here? Or, oh, it doesn't really say, does it? Well, anyway, we'll just fix that. All right, so let's go back to the textbook, and we're going to start today talking about complex queries. So, writing a complex query. So, we've just finished, or before we did this, we did subqueries, and subqueries, you can kind of accomplish the same things with either complex queries or joins. You join tables together, and that's a different approach than doing subqueries. You know, subqueries, you kind of nest your queries, and you take advantage of closure in relational algebra, and so you can have queries, you know, that query tables, produce tables, which are which are then used in other queries, in new queries that you know, and so on. So that is subqueries. Complex queries, you kind of skip all that, and you just join all the tables together, and by selecting which columns, by you know, by defining your projection or selecting which columns you want to display, you're able to figure out the same kind of things. You're able to answer the same kind of questions. So in this example here, this is an example of where it's a bookstore, and we've got a bunch of tables that are all kind of related to each other. I can close this thing. So we have some author, you know, so we have some books and we have some customers, and they're connected by a table that keeps track of sales. Customers buy books, so there's a sale table which connects customers to books, and then books have authors, and this bookstore keeps track of authors of books, and has so it's got a table of authors containing all the authors of at least all the authors of all the books that they have in inventory. They may have more authors, but then they have this table here which connects books to authors. So, for example, if somebody if a customer likes a particular author, then the bookstore can find books by that author, kind of thing. Or if a customer says, you know, I like books that I've read by the same authors that I've already read books from, and the store can go and figure out what books you bought and what authors what what authors they were, and then what other books they sell, and so on. So that's the kind of questions that you would ask. Those are the kinds of queries that you may ask. It's nice that they give you some steps here. So to create a complex query, okay, so here's an example of a query. A bookstore might ask, which books are selling best in the summer? Or what types of books do customers from the West Coast purchase? Category, okay, so books have categories. So that would be the types, I guess. So to create a complex query, first you examine the table diagram to see the tables and the relationships. Something like this, you see all the tables and the relationships between them, the foreign keys, the primary keys, which is how they're connected up. And then you identify the tables containing the data that you want to answer. You might want books that are so a customer comes in and says, I'd like to look at some other books of that were written by the same author of books that I've already bought here. You don't need to know the author's name. You only need to know the author's ID, because you can tell if two authors are the same by looking at their ID. You don't need to know their names. So for example, when you're identifying the tables containing the necessary data for something like that, that question, you wouldn't even need book author, would you? You would just need book, because book, I don't know, you do need book author because book author has got connects the books to the authors. So that's where you get the author ID. All right, so so that's determining which columns that should appear in the table. And I guess you may, well, anyway, then you write a query that joins the tables using the table's primary and foreign keys. That's a pretty standard thing. It's just joining, and if you have to join and specify, if you're not doing natural joins, you need to specify the columns which equal each other. That's what you do, and it's going to be standard for any kind of particular database. Like this. So that part should be the same for any kind of complex search, complex query. All right, so this just tests your understanding. Indicate if the given table contains data relevant to the bookstore's question. Okay, this is the bookstore's question. Which books written by a single author generated the most sales to customers from Colorado or Oklahoma in February of 2020? So you got to look at all the books that were sold in February of 2020. And then you got to look at things like a customer, where the customers are. So you're talking dates of sales, customer. So you definitely need the customer ID. You need the sale ID, because the sale ID's got the sale table. Sale table's got the date. The sale customer table's got the address or the state of the customer. And then books, which books written by a single author. So you're gonna look at all the books that customers in Colorado and Oklahoma purchased in February of 2020. Okay, that's pretty easy. But then you're gonna want to exclude books that were written by multiple authors. And the way you would do that is, you have a book here, and there's going to be a book author table which connects the author to the book. And if in the book author table, this book has more than one entry in the book author table, then it's more than one author, and that would get excluded. So somehow you're going to have to count that up too. Okay, so indicate if the given table contains data relevant. Okay, so does the author table contain data relevant to the bookstore's question? The author table, well, it's written by single author. No, because the only thing that the author the author table's got the first name, last name, and the birth date, and we aren't asking anything about names or birth dates. And we identify an author by the ID, and so the author ID is in the book author table. So I'm going to say false. Okay. The next one is the book author ID. Yes, we need that one because that's how we can tell how many authors wrote the book. So that would be true. Book. Do we need the book table? Do we need the? Yeah, we need the book table because it connects the sale. It connects the book author to the sale. Yeah, to the sale. So I guess that would be true. Okay. Do we need the sale table? Yeah, we need the sale table because the sale table's got the date, as I said earlier. And do we need the customer table? Yes, we do, because the customer table's got the state. So I'm going to say true and true. All right. Okay, joining table. So this is how we would. So I guess what we're going to do is we're going to kind of build up. We're going to start with this query, and you're always going to see from sale, inner join, customer, inner join book. Well, this is sale, customer, book. So that's sale, customer, book. Okay, so that's this side here. That's these three tables. Joining up these three tables. So let's, and then I think we're going to keep on going, and at the end we're going to end up. Okay, here we're customer book. Okay, let's go through these. Do we not ever look at book? Oh, here we look at book ID and book author. Okay, so here we're actually writing. I wonder if you need to use a subquery here. I haven't looked at this long enough to decide that. But here we're using a subquery and joins, because down here we actually want to know. This is where we figure out if a book has only one author. So here we're selecting the book ID for the book ID from book authors, from the book author book. Select the book IDs from the book author table, okay, and then group by book ID, and then then you're able to count up how many books, how many book authors per book ID, and you just want the ones where the count is equal to 1. So this is going to return the set of book IDs where where the book has only one author. And so here we're selecting book IDs where the book has only one author in this range of dates and so on. So this is the very end of the query. We're still back up here. So I'm going to step through this. And we're 15 minutes into this video, and I think I'd like to try to get through the rest of this chapter. So here we are. Tables. Okay, so run the query that joins sale, customer, and book. Okay, so this is just to answer the Zion bookstore question. The result table must contain the columns from the previously identified tables or columns that can be computed from the tables. Okay, so here we're computing because I guess we want sales. I guess that's a total amount. That would make sense. The result table should contain the following. Should contain the. Okay, so we're getting there. We're just doing part of the query at a time. Break the problem into simple queries, writing one part of the query at a time. So that's what we're doing right now. As we step through this whole rest of the section of this chapter. So here we're creating a table that contains the customer state, the book ID, and the book title, and the number of books purchased, and the total price. Okay, so we don't, you know, technically we don't really need the book title, but we're just including the book title because it's too hard for us to remember just a book by its ID. Do we ask about that? Or, okay, so anyway, so here we want to know the state that the customer lives in, the book ID of the sale, the title of the book, the number of books that were in that sale for that title. Is that how this works? I guess so. Yes, that would be how this works. Let me look at this table. The sale is got a book ID. Okay, so if the customer bought two different books that day, there would be 2 sales. If the customer bought 3 books, or if the customer walked out of the store with 3 books and 2 of them were the same, then there would be 2 sales. One sale would be the 1 book, and the other sale would be of the 2 books that were the same. So that makes sense. Okay, so that's right. Yeah. Okay. So if we go to, okay, so this is so that makes sense. 1 title, but you could buy 2 or 3 of the same title, and this is the price, and you want to know what the total, how much that sale was. And so we're talking about the sale table, the customer table, and the book table. We're talking about the sale table, the customer table, and the book table. And how are they joined up? Well, the sale table has got a foreign key. The sale table has a foreign key, and it is the book ID. And the sale table also has a foreign key, and it's the customer ID. The customer ID of the is the primary key of the customer table, and the book ID is the primary key of the book table. They're named differently in the table here, as you can see. That's pretty obvious why. It's one way of doing it. So this part of the join is going to be like the same all the time. Okay, because that's how these tables are designed. That's how they're designed. And if you're going to hook them up into a query like this that selects a bunch of various columns from the bunch of tables, this is how you do it. All right, so what we can okay, now this is great, this teaching platform here. So we create the author table, we insert a bunch of authors in there, we create the book table, we insert a bunch of books in there, we created a book author table, we insert a bunch of records connecting the books to the authors. And the first one is the author table, and the second one is the book table. And look, we see here, this book has got 2 authors. This book just has 1 author. This one's got 2 authors, and so on. That's pretty interesting. Okay, and here's a customer table, and then here's a bunch of customers that are inserted in. And then here's another sale table. Here's the sale table, and here's a bunch of sales that are put in there. This is the book ID. Looks like a book ID. This is a customer ID. This is a customer ID. This one, the first one's a customer ID. This is the price per book, unit price per book, and this is how many the books were bought. Okay, so this is customer number 2 bought book 104 for this price and bought 2 of them. So what's customer number 2 in book 104? Customer number 2 is, well, here's book 104, the last attempt, and that's the price. And then customer number 2 is Mario. All right, so that's what that is. And then we can just run this query. Let's run this query, copy it, paste, go all the way down to the bottom here, paste it, and then we just run it. And you know, when you're running this, sometimes you get an error, some kind of funny error, and I think the reason is because this whole thing gets packaged up and sent back to the server and executes, and then the result comes back, and you know, it's multitasking, and it gets confused. So if you ever get an error message just like this, just click run again, and it's kind of funny because when I started out in electrical engineering, and when we used to build stuff and test it to see if it works, it would make sense till you try it and it doesn't work, and then you just try it again, and it works. You try it 10 times and 9 times it works, and okay, so then it works. You have a loose connection someplace, but we'll fix that later. Whereas with software, that doesn't make sense, especially when you're writing a program and it's just you on your computer, and you hit run and it doesn't work. And I remember when I was younger, when I was in college, and we were with electrical engineers in the room too, and they would just run again to see if it next time it ran, and that didn't make sense. But so that was funny up until we had Microsoft, and we learned from Microsoft, from installing, that sometimes if it doesn't install right the first time, you just install it again and it works a second time. And it's because the order of installation of packages or dependencies is not right. And so, but anyway, in the case here, when you're debugging, if you hit the submit button and you get an error, and then you just try it again, and if you don't get the error the second time, then that means you got it right. Okay, so forget about the first time with an error. It's because 2 people were trying to access the server at the same time or something like that. All right, so this gives us this is the query, and you got to scroll over if you want to see the whole query, and this is the result. And so here we see this. Are we ordering? Is this ordered by anything? No, it's not. So you see Colorado, it's the books here, Colorado, anyway, 3 of them. So that's a start. We should order it somewhere. All right, anyway, so customer from which state purchased the most copies of Grant Me 3 Wishes? A customer from which state purchased the most copies of Grant Me 3 Wishes? Okay, so each line is one customer buying one book, but maybe multiple copies of that one book. So purchased the most copies of Grant Me 3 Wishes. Well, for all the Grant Me 3 Wishes, which is the most one? And that would be this one. Yes, that one. So it's it must be Colorado. It's somebody in Colorado. What is the question? A customer from which state bought the most? Oh yeah, customer from Colorado. There we go. Does lost time always sell for the same price? Ooh, I was wondering about that. Lost time. It doesn't look like it does. In fact, in this state, in the state of Colorado, it sold it for 2 prices. All right. So what's next? No, it doesn't. Okay, grouping by state. Okay, so this is a good thing to do because then we can total things up by state. Okay, so in this query, by the way, this is the same down here, I think. So in this query, we're gonna group by state and book, which means one entry will be one state and one book. So if a single book was sold, a bunch of times in one state, it's only going to be one entry in the resulting table. and it's one state, one book ID, one title. Of course, those would be all just one. And then these are the aggregate functions. We're going to sum up the quantity. We're going to sum up this unit price plus times quantity to get a total sales. And you notice this part is always the same. Okay, so let's take this. Let's take this query, copy, and go down to the very bottom, paste it. There we are. And we can run it. And we get one state, one book ID, one title, and then the quantity of books that were sold in that state. And this was the total sales. So, so of course, this table is much smaller than this table up here. And of course, the reason is because we've grouped them up. Like here, the lost time. These two are going to be grouped together because it's the same state, the same book ID, and the same title. And so the one down there would be, 2, and then this would be 3719, 3719. So it's Colorado here, this one, 23719, because it's the sum of the ones that were up there. All right, so you see, and we did that by we put what we're summing up over here, and then we put the group by, and it's it takes a while for it to really make sense what we're grouping by, but when you're specifying the grouping, the columns that are just going to still be there by themselves, they all have to end up being the same thing. Otherwise, you're not doing your grouping right, and also it won't know what to put there. So when you're doing a grouping, you're grouping by state plus book ID, and so you know that each entry is only going to have one state because you're grouping by that. Each entry is only going to have one book ID because you're grouping by that. Each state is only going to have one title because title is the same as same as book ID, and so there's only going to be one of those there. But there's going to be more than one quantity, and there's going to be more than one unit price, and there's going to be more than So there you have to do an aggregate function, and so aggregate functions are, of course, there's sum, there's count, there's average, there's also group concat, and if group concat is nice because you might be trying to do something, and you might be trying to group something, and you have a column there, and it's not letting you do it because you're grouping. One of the columns is going to result in more than one different result in that column. Well, you can alleviate that by using group concat, and then you can see what the different values were. So, for example, let's say in this particular query, let's say I just wanted to see what the I was making a mistake, and I did this, and I said, okay, so I want to see the state, the book ID, and the title, and the quantity. Where does quantity come? S dot quantity, and then this. And this is wrong because this field is going to have more than one value with this grouping. Okay, but let's see what happens. We see this, and it goes boom. It says can't non-aggregated column. Okay, so here's what you can do. I go, what does that mean? Okay, so do this. This is the problem. So do this. Group concat. And then when you run it, we actually see what they are. Oh, this three of the quantities. And so here we're looking at, why it does two? Oh, because it's interesting that it does. Okay, so yeah, okay, so, because one customer bought 3 of them and one customer bought 1 of them and one customer bought 1 of them. All right, so anyway, so then you go, oh, that's right, that's wrong. And then you can fix it and see what the you want to sum this instead, right? Yeah, that's what you want to do. And is that what we're doing up here? Yes. All right, so anyway, which book sold the most copies in a single state? Okay, so now we can answer that question. I better fix this. So I'm just going to go. This. I'll make this a sum. Okay, that's good enough. I don't need to name it. And would that be grant me 3 wishes? I think so. Grant me 3 wishes. Yep. Which alteration of the group by clause merges all the state's quantities together to review the total number of copies each book sold? Okay, so we aren't gonna we're just gonna merge all the states together. So that means we aren't grouping by states anymore. We're all in the same group. So really we're only grouping by ID. We're just looking at the total number of books each sold. So let's go back up here and do that. So let's take out the state, okay, and we run it, and it goes, boom. Cannot do this because we got this non-aggregated here. So let's do this same trick again. Group concat and see what those states are. And we see that, yeah, these are all the states, it's, so look, Colorado, Oklahoma, Colorado, Oklahoma, Colorado, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Colorado. I wonder if this works. Distinct. Oop, no, don't put it there, you put it here. I wonder if it would work if I were to say distinct. Distinct. So how do you spell distinct? It gotta be an N. Stinky. Stink. Distinct. Run. Oh, look. Cook, cook, cook. Cute. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, so distinct works because I didn't want to see the name of a state more than once. I just wanted this. I wanted the distinct group of states. Okay. New Mexico. Oh. All right. So so the way you would alternate it is you would say group by this. Okay. So here's this concept of filtering states. Let's say we are only looking for the states of Colorado and Oklahoma, and we are only looking for February of 2020. Okay. So this is a nice way to make it sure that's only February of 2020. Of course, you can do a range thing. You can do a day, a date is greater than or equal to, 2020-02-01, less than or equal to whatever, so that would, and we put the where clause in here. We want to exclude these things before we group anything. So we just want the set that we want, and then after that, we're going to group it and order the output and so on. So we use where instead of having. Having is after the group. Where is before the group. So so you can copy this here. and go down to here, run it. And so here we see only Colorado and Oklahoma, and it happens to be only in those two dates. In those dates, I'm going to do concat. It's right here. Group concat s dot date. I want to see what the dates are to make sure that we are really talking about just February 2020. Okay, yes, it looks like February 22. Yes, it's all February 2020. Okay, great. All right, so so what's the question? Removing the month and days would increases the number of rows in the result. Yes, if you remove a restriction, this adds restriction to it. We're only looking at this month and this year, but if we remove that restriction, it should increase the number of rows. And removing the parentheses around that changes now. Is that true that, let's see, removing the parentheses around, all right. Now, and has precedence over or. So if we were to remove the parentheses, we would be looking at if the state is Colorado or if the state is Oklahoma and the month is February and this year is 2020. So this would be evaluated together, and then this would be evaluated, and then it'd be one or the other. So it would be a different result. You can try that. Let's see. This is let's see what this looks like. What time is it? Playing with that. Let's just take it out. Let's see. Oh, not here. How can we remember this sheet? So this is how it is now. I'm gonna do a new one. This is how it is now. And I'm gonna set this aside. And I'm gonna run this new query where I take out the parentheses, and what do I get? I get something that looks quite a bit different than that. Table's different. So anyway, it's different. The answer is false. All right, now we're finally going to be looking at books by a single author. And so we're going to do that by in the where clause. We're going to be looking. Do we want these dates to come along with it? Was that the whole point of this? Ah, yes, it is. Wants to know which books written by a single author generated the most sales to customers from Colorado or Oklahoma in February 2020. So now the final thing we're going to do is this books by single author thing. Well, the way we're going to do that is we're just going to restrict what books we're looking at. We're going to do a subquery, and we're going to only look at books, single authored books. And so that's down here. And so you notice we do join books. You know, we join books, and you know, we're joining books on book ID. And here we restrict which books we look at. So this is a restriction on what ends up coming up out of the book table. Okay, you know, the restriction is placed on the book table. And based on what is over on this side, books are going to get eliminated. Which books? Well, books that have connected to books of more than one author. So, this subquery is going to give us only it's going to give us the set of books that were only authored by one individual, and so we're restricting what we're selecting with by only looking at book IDs in this set. And so what is this set? Well, we're selecting, I said this earlier, we're selecting the book IDs from the book authors, and then we're grouping by book IDs. So there's one entry for each book ID, one entry for each book, but we're summing up the authors because we're reading this out of book author. And so if a book has more than one author, there's going to be more than one entry in book author. And this counts the entries. This counts the entries in this counts the entries in book author for each book ID, and we only want the set where the count is equal to 1. So anyway, we can run this down here. Run. And lo and behold, we have book sales, books with only one author being sold in Colorado and Oklahoma in February of 2020. So that's what this is. All right. So you can answer these questions. So let's go on and take a look at these. We got 15 minutes left. Let's jam out some of these. And I'm going to pull up my notes here to make sure we can get out of here in 15 minutes. All right, what's the first one? I'll try to do it first without my notes. Employee table has the following columns. Write a select statement to show a list of all employees' first names and their managers' first names. List only employees that have a manager. Order the results by employee's first name. Use aliases to give the columns distinct different names like employee and manager. So we want to do, we're going to be doing something where select something from employee, and I'm gonna have an alias of E. Inner join do I need to use inner join or can I use left join? I'm going to use left join. I'm more comfortable using left join. So I'm going to see if the notes have me using inner join. I'm going to use a left join just to see it. Left join employee again. Except for this time, I'm going to call manager because I'm going to use this as the manager table. And what I have got to do is I've got to say E of manager ID is equal to M of ID. And I only want employees. What do I only want? Oh, it's list only employees that have a manager. Okay, so I'm going to assume in that employee table, if the person doesn't have a manager, the manager ID is going to be null. So I'm going to say where E manager, E dot manager ID is not equal null. Is not null. Is that what it is? Is not null. There. Oh, and what am I selecting? I'm selecting the employee's name. E dot first name. That's the employees as employee, comma, and then M dot first name as manager, and I'm supposed to sort by something, or no, sort order by employee first name. Okay, order by E first name. All right, I'm going to see what this looks like when I run it. Let's see. I have an error message. Response is not. I don't. Really. Manager ID, MID, M. Near what? Near what? E man. Well, I'm going to put inner here just because it tells me to use it. Let's see what this does. I need an equal sign. No, I don't. No, that's not right. This doesn't look right. On. I need the word on. That's all right. Let's see. Oh, okay. Now I got to go back and see if this is what I had before works. Left join. Okay, so we got the Andy. Do I get to see what the data looks like? I don't get to see what the data looks like. How do I test this? You know, this is crazy. How do I test it? Okay, first of all, here's how I'm going to test it. First, I'm going to run this. I'm going to save this. Save it. Copy. Let me pop up an editor here. Let me do a new. And I'm going to just paste this thing right here just to save. And why do I have two? Oh, I don't need this one. This is the one I need. All right, so first I'm going to do this. I'm going to do select asterisk from employee. Okay, I'm going to do that first. Spelled employee wrong. And it looks like this. Okay, so this is employee ID. So what we should see, I'm gonna copy this. No, I can just do a do one of these. Okay, I'm gonna set this aside now. And now I will go back and run this, copy here. And we'll see if this ends up being right. All right, we should have, oh, this is ordered by first employee first name. Darn it. Let me go back to this. Select select asterisk from employee E, order by first name. There we go. That's what I want. So now I've got it looking like this. And so now let's go paste this thing back in. And we should see Andy's manager is number 5, which is Jim. Oh yeah. Andy's manager is number 5, which is Jim. Angela's manager is 3, which is Michael, and there's Michael. Dwight's manager is number 3, which again is Michael, so that's why there's Michael there. It looks like Jim, Kelly, and Meredith are all Michael's. So Jim, 3, 3, 3, and then 3 down. Yeah, okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, that looks pretty good. So I think this is very close to the answer. So you should be able to get that one right. All right, what's this one? Whoa, it's late. All right, so the database has 3 tables for tracking horseback riding lessons. There's no one here, so I think I'm just going to finish this. Horse. So this has got this one, and this one. Write a select statement to create a lesson schedule with the lesson date, time, course ID, and the students' full first and last names. Order the results. Unassigned time should not appear. Okay, so we're going to want, I might as well just use this over here. Write a select statement. That has, it's got the lesson, it's got this in it. Select that. And what is this? This is the lesson date and time is this. And the horse ID would be this. Okay. And the student's first and last name is going to be first name and last name. Okay, so that's what I want. And that's going to be taken from, okay, and then so that's going to be taken from, and this would be the same for anything. It's going to be a student horse. Okay, so horse ID. I don't need to know anything. Okay, so there is a horse ID in there, but we don't need to know the horse's name or anything. That's probably going to come later. From lesson schedule. inner join, I guess. Student on all of the, no, they're not. Okay, so in these two tables, all the column names are unique. So I don't need to name the, I don't need to create aliases for the tables. I don't need to create aliases for tables because all the column names are unique. So I can just say on course student ID equals ID, and it's not ambiguous because I'm only including these two tables. Okay, so that's what I want. Oh, I'm supposed to order by something. Order by, what am I supposed to order by? Lesson, date, time, then horse ID. So order by lesson, comma, horse ID. So let's see what this looks like. Oh, 2019, 2020. Yeah, those two are the same time, and that's ordered by that. These two are the same time, ordered by that. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's you know, you can figure that out. Okay, what's the next one? Same thing, same thing, same thing. Write a select statement to create a lesson schedule for a particular date. Oh, we want the horse's registered name this time. All right, well, I think this is very close to the last one, except for we need to join up the horse table, inner, you know, I don't recall taking care of the case in this previous one. I don't recall taking care of the case where student ID is null, it should not appear. Okay, so yes, it'll automatically not appear on the schedule because since we're doing inner join, it's only going to join two things where they're both there. And if there's a lesson schedule that's got null for student ID, it's not going to connect with anything with student ID, so it's not going to be. So we shouldn't see that. Is that the case? Was that the case? Okay, here we're only seeing those. Now, what happens if we do left join? Okay, now we're seeing nulls. Why? Because with left join, we see every single record that's on the left. And then if there's a match with a record on the right, it matches it. Otherwise, it just leaves it null. So these are the dates that where there's nothing scheduled. The horses get to take a break. All right, but anyway, we're doing this next one here where we are, we want to see the horse's name, and it's only for a particular date. So first we're going to interjoin the horse table on. Now, since we have two tables that have an ID field, same as that, now we got to do aliases. So for the lesson schedule, I'm going to call that L. I think I'll use capital letters. L. And for the student table, I'm going to call that capital S. And for the horse table, I'm going to call that capital H. And so now I got to fill all these in. Okay, so this is going to be L dot, I don't actually, no, these are not ambiguous, but let's do this anyway. S dot, hold it. We want the horsey name, don't we? Horsey registered name. And that should come from the horsey table. So we got the lesson schedule and then horse table H on L dot horse ID is equal to H dot ID. And this is going to be S dot ID. And this is going to be L dot ID, L dot student ID. L dot. Horsey name. This is going to be L. And only on a particular date, right? So I got to do where do I do that month? Oh, month, day, year. How do you get at the? I guess that'll work. I guess, okay, so we have to do a where the date, but the date is date and time. So I guess we could do something like this. Lesson, L dot lesson date time is greater than or equal to, is it February 1st, 2020? What is it, February 2020, 0201, and L dot lesson date time is less than or equal to, no, so less than well, yeah, 2020-02-02. I think this will work. Oh, wait, but we don't need to order it. Are we still going to order it by lesson date and time? Yes, okay, because on the same day. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Okay, the last one is easy. So we want a movie table, rating table, following columns, write a select statement to select the title, year, and rating description. Display all the movies, whether or not a rating code is available. Okay, so hint, use a left join. And left join on the movie and rating table. So we're going to list the title, year, and the rate. The title and the year. So we're going to list all of the records in movie. So, and then for each record in movie, we want to attach the description connecting the rating table with the rating code. So this is a foreign key into this table, and this is the primary key of this table, and there's a description. So we do a left join, this table, left join this table on rating code equals code, and we only need to be displaying the year, the title, the year, and the description. So we're only going to display that this one, and this one. All right, so anyway, you should be able to do that. All right, so I have taken you all the way through chapter 3. I don't think there's anything more. Now we're going to chapter 4. I will start chapter 4 this week, but we have another class this week. And so I will see you then. Thanks for watching.